8:55 here at Big 550 KTRS. Andy Strickland, who is with Fox Sports Midwest, who is also with the KTRS sports team, sports staff, I should say, host of Hockey Sense. When's Hockey Sense this week?
Tomorrow
night at Obie Clark's, right next to Brentwood, right next to Altair Travel. You can go to Altair Travel and then go over to.
That's right.
Go over to.
Book a cruise.
Obie Clark's.
Obie Clark's. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll be all right. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, 7 to 9?
7 to 9. A little sports medicine following Hockey Sense. So a 2-hour extravaganza tomorrow night.
With you and Jamal Mayers.
Yes.
Okay. Let's first talk Blues. Do we like what they did? Do we not like what they did?
Well, I like what they did because I think anytime you can address needs and fill needs with your hockey club, and you do that at the trade deadline, I think you have to be happy with that. I think most people looked at the St. Louis Blues entering the trade deadline as a couple of areas of need. One was on defense. The other one was probably some toughness, and they identified both.
So they got the defense help they needed, and they got toughness. Now, is that code word for a goon?
It used to be. You're right. Back in the day, but you don't see too many goons anymore. I mean, nowadays you have to be able to play the game. You can't just be a guy who's on the roster simply because he fights. Robert Bortuzzo is a defenseman who they got from Pittsburgh. If you remember last week, the Blues played the Penguins. David Backes going after Evgeny Malkin, one of the top players in the world for Pittsburgh. And who was it that came to Malkin's defense? It was Bortuzzo. Now all of a sudden he's in the same locker room as Backes. Only in the National Hockey League does this happen.
So he went from I hate you to I love you.
Exactly, just like that. So again, they needed somebody like that, sticking up for your teammates. Always been a big part of the code in the National Hockey League, and the Blues probably lacking a little bit in that area.
All right, so they have enough scoring. They needed defense.
Yeah.
They got a little tougher.
Yeah, so they got a player, Zivnek Mihalik. So good luck to all you TV people out there when you see that on the teleprompter.
I'll be like,
can't wait to see how that goes.
Hard word.
Suddenly, TJ Oshie has become easy. So Zivnek Mihalik, he's got a brother who plays in the National Hockey League as well.
His name is Steve.
Milan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But this is a real good player who right now is sidelined with a head injury, concussion. He's going to skate for the first time since he got hurt back on February 14th today. So he's on the rebound, he's on the recover. But he would have been one of the more sought-after defensemen available at the deadline, and the Blues would have had to pay a much higher price to get him if he hadn't gotten hurt. In fact, the Blues were close to making a deal with Mihalik before he got injured, but then he suffered the injury, and now they probably didn't have to pay as much to get him.
All right, so where are they in the rankings now? Where are they in the?
Well, they're in second place in the division.
Okay.
But they're trending up. I mean, hey, the Nashville Predators, they've been a great story this season. They're losing games now. They lost last night in New York. They lost a couple of home games last week, which they hardly ever do. So a big opportunity now Thursday night in St. Louis to gain some ground. In Philadelphia for the Blues to gain some ground on
If
Nashville.
they stay in second place in their division, do they avoid all those good teams early on?
Well, they'll play the third-place team in the division, and right now as it sits, that's the Chicago Blackhawks. They made some big moves at the deadline as well. They lost Patrick Kane, arguably the best player in the National Hockey League, to a broken clavicle, so he's going to be out for a couple of months.
That's great news.
But then they go out and trade. Yeah, you like that? They go out. The inner shock jock is coming out of you. Then they go out and get Antoine Vermette from Arizona.
Oh, no.
Probably the most sought-after offensive player available, great two-way player. They bring in a defenseman by the name of Kimmo Timonen as well from Philadelphia. So they loaded up prior to the deadline, and
I've never heard of so much trading during
well,
the season.
Hockey makes a lot of trades like
that. Trade deadline day,
nothing
Kelly.
is safe, is it?
It's like a holiday for hockey fans.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, these guys are always on pins and needles. Nobody knows if they're going to get moved or not. It's not easy when you have family.
I mean, you get comfortable somewhere, and then you've got to pick up
But
and
Chicago
go.
will get Kane back probably for the playoffs. And as it sits right now, the Blues will play Chicago. And to be honest with you, I don't see that changing.
Really? So you say that, and the Blues and the Blackhawks are the best team in the league, right? Or
well, they've won a couple of Stanley Cups. Nobody is volunteering to play Chicago in the first round, but I can tell you this: they don't want to play St. Louis either.
Jordan Leopold, this letter that the daughter wrote is the cutest thing you will ever read.
Really
I don't have
is.
time now, but did this letter have anything to do with him actually being traded back?
I think it did have something to do with it, to be honest with you. I just sent a text message to one of the Minnesota coaches just to see, get some background on this. If they read it and said, we got to find a way to get this guy. Jordan Leopold, great guy, 4 kids, played here in St. Louis.
Andy Strickland, ladies and gentlemen, Hockey Sense tomorrow at 7 at Obie Clark.